S4, how he was assigned. He said they took his name away and gave him a number, and they weren't allowed to know each other's names. They could only address each other by their number. They all had sequential numbers from 119 to 124, or 25 or 26, whatever it was. And from that, he assumed that they all had been assigned at the same time as a whole new team, and that they must have replaced another team that was there because of the sequence of the numbers. And so after he had been with us for a few days and we tried to find out if the others had been detected, they had all been removed and a whole new team had brought in again, had altogether different numbers, and we never found out what happened to the team members that were on with him at the time. But we presumed that they were sent to different stations, not in contact with each other for some time if they weren't suicided for their betrayal. They may have known we were there and what we were doing, so when they got back, we had the tape that we had taken out of the high 8 camera and put it back in a cassette case, and about the time we got home, Bob Dean came by. And we told him that what we'd done and that we had this tape that we were afraid to keep. He said, I could find a place for it.
When I retired from the military, I began working for the Sheriff's Department. And I had some perks and privileges. I had a Sheriff's Department car with red lights and stuff on the top. And I used to safeguard information on behalf of Wendelle. Information that he had asked access to that he could not trust keeping it in his house. And he'd give it to me and I'd lock it up in the Sheriff's Department safe. Of course, the sheriff never knew any of this. You know. But as I said, we go back a long way. We're good friends.
So now we had it on tape, and now he's worried about the tape and what they'll do to get it. And Bob came by his patrol car that evening, and I told him, we've got something here that we're trying to find a way to hide it. Can you find a way for it? So he says, give it to me, I'll see what I can do.
And what'd you do with that, Bob?
Locked it up in the Sheriff's Department safe.
How effective was that? How long were you able to keep it there safely?
Several days, I forget.
Well, you kept it there more than that. You kept it there several months until we thought we ought to take it and make a copy of it before something else happened.
And were you able to do that?
We did.
You still have a copy of that?
We have it, yeah.
Good.
I haven't released any of it yet.
I think we should duplicate it, and I mean, I know you guys know what you're doing, you know, I mean, I think you should duplicate everything. At least
we need backup.
3 times. Yeah, at least duplicate everything, and I don't know, hide it out somewhere in the desert, you know, I mean, dig a hole, put it in a safe, do something with it.
He told us that they had made 6 copies of the pictures and had stashed them in 6 different places with responsible people that would turn them over to public news media if anything happened to Connor. He told me that they had taken these 52 pictures, including one of Dick Cheney standing there in front of a line of crashed discs there. So he's been aware of what's out there and what's going on for a long time. And Senior Bush was head of the CIA at one time when he became involved directly in the Need to Know part of the program and was taken inside. Admiral Bobby Inman is probably the head of the old MJ-12 group, which is now quite a few more members. They all are in this top secret group, have MJ numbers, magic numbers. They all have access to all the classified information in the MJ category. They all are members of one or another of the Trilaterals, the Council of Foreign Relations, or one of the other secret societies. And so they're all linked together. Among the group that makes up a council, they sit on all of the information, and control of different parts of it is farmed out to different of these entities. They don't all have all of anything. One of them has supervisory control of one aspect of the phenomenon. Another one has supervisory control of a different aspect.
What is the scenario that they're really terrified of happening?
I think they don't want the public to know what's going on because the box is too full of monsters. You know, you can't open the box and let one monster out. They all come crowding out. I think the problem is it amounts to a loss of power, probably a total loss of power to those that are sitting on it once the monsters are out. Then you can't put them back in the box again. And then the phenomenon will find its own level of acceptance and probably become an everyday reality for most people. Until then, they're keeping it on the lids on. I think that they have successfully made contact with one or another visiting entity, and maybe are being helped a little bit in keeping it quiet. But he had it in the sheriff's safe, and Delta 6 did. We were getting notes pinned on my door and in my mailbox and pinched in car doors from Delta 6 warning us that they wanted Connor to return. And he was still resisting, and we had the tape. He said they're not going to do anything until they get the evidence. They're looking for the pictures, and they're looking for any records we may have made here. And they won't really do anything until they get all of that. But he says they'll get it. And then they did. He kept coming by, and all the time that they were stressing us, it was in the sheriff's safe. They had no idea where it was. See, Connor was a member of that Delta 6 team. They sent his own team to get him. He knew all the members of the team. He knew that they knew how he thought. He knew how they thought. He knew they're not going to do anything to him till they get all 6. And somehow they had calculated he had made 6 stashes. And they got to get them all before they take him out of circulation.
Did Connor and his 2 cohorts leave a set with an attorney?
They did. They took time to go to attorneys that each one had some special attorney that he knew something about that he could go to on a personal basis, and left the record sealed with it. The picture sealed without any identification, but just a package sealed for that attorney to release it if he ever heard of any harm being done to any of the men. They were always intercepted. They found the attorney's house broken into one time when they went there to get him. The attorney was gone. So he knows that they're around. He knows that they're after him. He knows they're not going to do anything to him until they get the stash. We saw him a couple of times in the white van going past the house, but he knew how they operate because he was a member of the same team. He knew that they would take him out if he had been characterized as an enemy of the government. He'd be taken out without any worry on their part, and they'd get their bonuses for doing it. But he knew they weren't going to do it until they had collected all the evidence that could be revealed. And so he felt safe there until he was down to 1 stash, and he was afraid to go to it for fear they were tracking him and could get to it when he got to it, and then they would terminate him. On Friday morning, we were anxiously waiting the shipment of his package of photos, when at about 11:30 a.m. I went out to check to see if any mail had arrived, and coming back to the door I noticed another of those pale blue Imperial Palace letters stuck behind my house numbers again. And we got a message from Delta 6 stuck behind the numbers of my house that said that they had indicated that they had intercepted. They showed a circle, a package, bus in the bottom of the circle, and a line drawn through it, like a no parking line. And then what do you do? What will you do now? A question mark. And a little more threatening, and it had 2 paper matches taped to the letter. This is a picture of the second message with the paper matches showing him, telling him that they'll burn my house down if necessary if he doesn't want to cooperate with them. And that scared him a bit because he thought they might do it before he was able to cooperate with them. This letter had a note and a paper match glued to the page at the end of the note.